All right, so today we're going to talk about trig functions. Specifically, we're going to do sine, cosine, and tangent, but we'll also touch on the reciprocal functions as well. So when I first learned this, let me draw us just kind of a triangle here. This has to do with right triangles. So these only apply to right triangles. So we'll call this like some angle theta. And opposite the angle theta, we have the opposite side. And next to it, we call that the adjacent side. And of course, the hypotenuse, that is the longest side of any right triangle. And we know this because the right angle kind of points at the hypotenuse. So these trigonometric ratios are sine, cosine, and tangent. So when you, that's a bad n, but when you take the sine, cosine, and tangent, you're taking the sine of an angle. And we're going to take the sine of this angle, theta, and we're going to say it's the opposite over the hypotenuse. Because I'm sure by now you've heard of the mnemonic device Sohcahtoa. Okay, when I was in high school, my teacher taught me Chief Sohcahtoa, and he had a cigar store Indian in his classroom. So Chief Sohcahtoa. So stood for sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And toa was tangent equals opposite over adjacent. So, but we have to take it with respect to a certain angle. So this angle here, the sine of it would be the opposite divided by the hypotenuse. So I'll abbreviate opposite over hypotenuse. Then we would have the cosine. Well, that would be the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So adjacent over hypotenuse. So adjacent over hypotenuse. And the last one is the tangent of theta. So that's the opposite over the adjacent. Opposite over adjacent. So let's look at that. So those are the three trig functions that you learned first before you learned any other ones. Whoops, putting the cap on backwards. Then when we got to precalculus, this is what you learned were the reciprocal functions. So sometimes it's easier to do this going backwards. So tangent, that goes with cotangent, right? They're actually cofunctions, much like sine and cosine are cofunctions. So cotangent is the reciprocal of the tangent. So that would be the adjacent over the opposite. The two other ones that you've no doubt heard of are cosecant and secant. Sometimes these are easy to mix up, but I always remembered that secant and cosine, secant, are the same letters, just reversed, and we put a different vowel. Instead of the O, we put the E. So that's how I remember it, but maybe you remember it differently. So opposite over adjacent. And then the last one, the only one that remains, is the cosecant. So the cosecant of the angle is going to be the hypotenuse over the opposite. So these are the 6 trig functions that we deal with in precalculus. So hopefully that was a quick review for you as we go into summertime or into summer school for some of us. But don't give up. Remember, math is not a spectator sport. You have to do a lot of math in order to get good at math. So if you have any questions about this video or any of the other videos I've made prior to getting a light board, go ahead and put the comments down below. If you have any particular problems, if you have a textbook or a page in a textbook, I'd be happy to look at those as well. All right, until the next time, this is Noldy out.